Hello sweet ladies, you're welcome back. So in today's class we're going to be making this asymmetric yoke. So let's get straight to the point. So for this tutorial you'll be needing your princess dart bustier. If you don't know how to draft this, I have a tutorial on it. The link will be in the description box. Alright, so I've cut out my princess dart bustier, and as you can see from here, I've joined it, both the lining and the main fabric. So the next thing you want to do is for you to place the lining and the main fabric together, wrong side to wrong side. So just place them together, wrong side to wrong side, like this. And as you can see, I've cut out the neckline that I want. You can do any neckline of your choice, but for this neckline I did 4 by 2.7. all right, so I'll go to the tip of the shoulder like this, and then I'm going to just measure 2 inches inward like this. All right, so I'll come here again from the shoulder. I'm going to measure the length that I want for the depth of the yoke, but here I'm using 5 inches. So what I'll do next is to connect from that first point to the second point with a slight curve. You can choose to do this with your hand, or you can use your French cuff to get this. So just place your French cuff in case you don't want to use your hand, and then you're good. Please ensure they match properly, both the lining and the main fabric. Ensure they match properly, both on the neckline, at the armhole side, at the side seam. Ensure they match properly. All right, so when you are satisfied, the next thing for you is to cut it out. So after cutting it out, you keep the main body aside. Then we are going to be working with the yoke. So I'm going to be using these 2 nets to cut out the yoke part. So I place the net into 2 folds. The net is placed into 2 folds. Then I'm going to put the yoke that I cut out earlier. I'll put it on top of it. Ensure the yoke is flat very well on the net. Then after that, you add your seam allowance to the bottom part. I'm adding 1/2 inch seam allowance to the bottom part. So when I'm sewing, I'm just going to sew with 1/4. But if you know you usually sew with 1/2 inch, please add 1 inch seam allowance to the bottom part. But I added just 1/2 inch. Then when I'm sewing, I'm just going to sew with 1/4. Then after that, I'll cut it out. And note, the allowance is added to only the bottom part. Every other place remain the same. All right, so I'm done cutting. The next thing now is to take to the sewing machine. Then I'll show you what needs to do. All right, so as you can see, the net was folded into 2, so meaning we have 2 yoke. So what you need to do is to sew the neck area. So I'm going to be sewing the neck area with 1/4 inch. So when you're done with the neckline, the next thing you need to do is to trim off the seam allowance. You trim it very close to your seam, but don't cut your seam. Then after that, you turn it to the right side. So after turning it to the right side, you need to iron it so that it can be flat. All right, while ironing, you have to be careful because it's net. You don't want to burn it. All right, so next is to grab your main fabric, the main body of the dress. You can see this is the main body, and you can see that it's matched properly. So just place the net on top of the main body like this. The net is facing the right side of the main body. Then you start joining from the shoulder. Then you're going to be joining it with 1/4 inch seam allowance. If you remember, I added just 1/2 inch for the seam allowance, and normally for yoke, your seam allowance for joining the body and the net together is usually added to the yoke. That's the reason for joining with 1/4 inch, even though we added 1/2 inch. All right, so when this is done, you can see this is how it's looking. So the next thing for us is to use lining to turn it so that we can achieve a neat finishing. All right, so before putting the lining on top of it, so just flip the net. Okay, let me show you how the inside is looking. You can see this is how it looks from the inside. So the next thing now is to bring the net down so that you can pin it away from the seam allowance, so that it can be like flat on the seam allowance part, so that when you're sewing the lining on top of it, you don't go and catch the wrong place. All right, so just drag this net away from the seam allowance like this and pin it to the body, so that the seam allowance part can be flat for you to work with. That's the reason for doing that. So place the right side of the lining on top of the right side of the main body, and then you match the shoulders together like this, and then you just pin along that area. So just pin it along that area. All right, so when you're done pinning, you can see this is how it looks. Turn it to the other side so that you can see your previous seam line. Then you just sew on that same seam line that you have on the main body. So when you're done stitching it together, you notch. Then you can see the next is to close the side. So we're going to be closing the side with 1/2 inch. Close the side with 1/2 inch seam allowance. You're going to work on the both side. Then after that, you bring it to the right side. Just turn it to the right side. So if you turn it to the right side, this is how it looks. All right, so the next is for you to iron it. Then you continue with whatever style you are making. So from the wrong side, it looks like this. Then from the right side, it looks like this. So I've ironed mine, and you can see how beautiful it is. It is neat and it's very beautiful. So go ahead and attach it to the back and continue with whatever style you're working on. Thanks for watching. Please kindly subscribe to my channel. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please kindly subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Please don't forget to click the notification bell so that you'll be notified anytime I upload a new tutorial. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.